For 5 years I dated a girl I'll call Mia. We got engaged last March and were supposed to get married next year, but 2 weeks ago I learned that our entire relationship was a lie. Someone showed me a dashcam recording of her saying that she still loves her ex and she was only with me because I'm the better choice. I confronted her, she admitted it was true, I called off the wedding and broke up with her. I'm determined to move past this as soon as possible and on to better things, the things that I should have achieved had Mia not wasted 5 years of my life. But there's an issue that has me on the fence. I was supposed to donate my kidney to Mia's brother Tom, and now I don't know if I should do it. Tom has ESRD and needs a second kidney transplant as soon as possible because the kidney from his first transplant is failing. I'm not that close to him and I was only going to do it because I wanted to help Mia's family in any way I could because I thought they were going to be my family. But now that I know that she was just playing me the whole time, I'm having second thoughts. Organ donation is a big deal, I will literally risk my life to give part of myself to someone. And at this point I don't want to do it for the brother of the girl who lied to me, used me and made me a fool for 5 years. Would I be an idiot if I back out? No idiots here. For multiple reasons. 1. Donating a kidney is no walk in the park. It's major surgery that often is more severe for the donor than the recipient. You are allowed to change your mind, even without giving a reason. 2. You will be reminded of this donation for the rest of your life. If you are having major heartbreak over her, then the operation, recovery, scar and any medical procedure/complication will remind you of Mia. Your heart may be broken again and again, by being reminded. Some people get over heartbreak quickly, some don't. I ruled no idiots here because obviously Tom is not an idiot, and for the situation about the donation Mia is also not an idiot. You're the idiot. Only because you originally planned to donate the kidney even though you're not that close to him and you were doing it for Mia. Not a good enough reason to donate one, and you weren't under any obligation to begin with. You were wrong to donate to him in the first place if something out of his control, your relationship with his sister, would have changed things. That being said, your body and you can decide what to do with it. It just seems like you really didn't think this through. Not the idiot, it's our body and your life, and not everybody is altruistic enough to go through a life-threatening procedure with a long recovery time for a stranger. When you agreed to do it, it was on the assumption that this guy would be a family member, his sister, and you have now broken up, due to her behavior, and this guy is no longer anything to do with you. No one would blame you for changing your mind in this situation. My husband, 35, is disabled. He's in a wheelchair and is home 24/7. Because he needs me around to assist him, I'd have him in his chair nearby while I do laundry or cook or clean. He's with me most of the time except for when I go to the bathroom, but even then he'd complain about me being away for so long. I don't even go shopping, everything gets delivered to our home. I haven't seen my girlfriends for a while and have arranged to start having girl night-ins at my place since I can't be away from home, especially at night. I asked my husband for some privacy when my friends came and he took it badly, took it as in I was annoyed and bothered by him, but I assured him it wasn't like that. He said if it's true then I'd let him sit with us during girls' night in. I absolutely refused and tried explaining that my friends and I need privacy and this is the only time we spend together. I also explained that having him sit with us would ruin the purpose of girls' night in. He threw a hissy fit and called me selfish and rude for refusing. He started giving me the cold shoulder saying until I agree to include him, he will not be speaking to me. Am I the idiot for choosing this hill to die on according to him? More context. I haven't gone out in a while, haven't seen my friends or even family in a while because he wouldn't go with me and also refuses to stay home with someone else to look after him. He even wouldn't let me be out of sight for more than few minutes. I sometimes have to bring him near the bathroom so he could wait for me with the door open if I'm taking more time. He isn't sociable by nature, so he doesn't have friends. The only 2 friends he had showed their true colors after he became disabled and put a distance. About the girls' night in issue. He said he would not let my friends in if I continue to exclude him, which caused a major argument between us. Not the idiot. You have to be allowed to have a life outside of the role of wife and caretaker. Since he even complains about you going to the bathroom, something needs to change. I don't know if you want to work outside the home, but if you do, could hiring a carer for your husband be a possibility? He will complain of course, but you can't make him and his needs your entire life. Not the idiot. This is not sustainable. I don't know your history, but I've been a caregiver spouse in a far less extreme situation, and it really damaged our relationship. We were able to repair it with a lot of therapy. One thing I learned: you cannot have a healthy relationship if one person handles all the needs of the other and gets none of her own met. That's parent-child. You're headed towards a breakdown, and then who'll take care of your husband? You absolutely have to get support. I don't know how old you are, but this may not be a marriage you can stay in. It doesn't matter if he doesn't want anyone else's help. You both need it, and a lot. Good luck. This is insane. He's worse than an infant, as an infant can't help needing you 24/7, while this neckbeard knows he's being a complete idiot, preventing you from having any time to yourself. You can't even crap without him badgering you. Disabled people can and do live productive lives. If he can summon the energy to whine and moan and manipulate, he could at least harness same to have some dignity and independence. Not the idiot, and please get help. There's no award waiting for you at the end of your days for being a martyr and putting us with his abuse. I 21 am, the oldest of 8 kids, with the youngest being 11. My parents are both trauma surgeons and have always worked odd hours, so I essentially raised my siblings until I moved out for college. I'm now a senior in college and moved off campus into a 3-bedroom house to be closer to home. My siblings come over every weekend and my parents pay me to keep them. This is usually fine since I'm a homebody and I love being around my siblings. I'm very serious about my school, and this weekend I have my third of 5 weekend labs of the semester, and our labs are worth 30% of our final grade. I told my parents that I wouldn't be able to have them over this weekend, but it seems they completely disregarded it. When I went over for dinner on Sunday, they told me they planned a non-refundable weekend trip and asked me to keep them this weekend, but when I told them I couldn't, they got upset. We went back and forth for a while, and my mom said I was being selfish and asked me to miss my lab since it was only 6% of my grade. I told her that I didn't have 8 kids and they're not my responsibility. She started crying and my dad berated me for making her cry and asked me to leave. Neither of them will answer my texts or calls despite me apologizing, and I feel bad, but I just don't feel like they're seeing my side of things. I've attempted to tell them, but they won't even talk to me, and neither will my youngest siblings, 14, 12, 11, and it's really making me sad. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. It's great that you provide childcare for them whenever you can. It's great that they do compensate you for it. But they aren't your responsibility. If you're not available, it's on them to get a babysitter, or find someone. Not on you. Total jerk move on their part to turn your siblings on you. I'd stop trying to reach out and wait for them to get back in touch with you. You did nothing wrong. Not the idiot. Let me get this straight, they're more concerned for the non-refundable trip than they are of your education? Let's say you fail by 1%, which the 6% could have easily taken care of. You will then have to pay to redo this subject act. No doubt more expensive than the trip, it's not worth the risk logically. And you are right, you are not a parent, so they are not your responsibility. They are putting themselves above all their children, and that's not okay at all. Not the idiot, but they are never going to budge on this. They already had the kids. I mean, especially if all you had to do was point out the fact that you aren't your sibling's parents to be enough to make her cry, then that in and of itself just highlights the one-sided entitlement of parents. But again, this is all irrelevant because the relationship between parent and child in the vast majority of parents' eyes is one-sided. So no use in arguing, even less use in feeling bad about it because you did nothing wrong. I'm 39, my daughter, Jane, is 20. I am by no means a perfect mother, and my husband, Tom, isn't a perfect father, but we did our best all her life and tried our best to make sure she never wanted for anything. I know exactly where we went wrong as parents, and I honestly think giving her unrestricted internet access was the problem. Jane is offended by everything, and she claims a lot of things caused her trauma. One of the major things that caused her trauma, in her own words, was my migraines, which I started to experience in my mid-20s. During a migraine of mine, Tom would either take Jane out for a few hours, or take her for a playdate, or to either set of grandparents. Jane claims this was traumatic because she was forced to separate from me, despite the fact she did not even know until she was in her teens. I had, at most, 5 migraines a year. Jane claims me going back to work part-time when she was 15, 3 days a week while she was in school, was deeply traumatic because it meant a change in her routine. That change was that dinner wasn't on the table ready for her as soon as she got in the door and she had to wait an hour. Jane is unemployed. She's not in college and she does no housework, she won't even walk the dog she brought home without permission, and has decided the arguments it has caused between us all are also traumatic. She runs a TikTok account, which recently came up on my For You page, and like the terrible awful mother I am, I decided to snoop. Jane has over 10k followers, but most of the comments are genuinely making fun of her, calling her a snowflake, telling her to touch grass. She had a few videos about how she grew up below the poverty line, essentially in the ghetto, which is a complete lie because she was raised in a lower middle class household in a pretty affluent area. A lot of her posts with the nasty comments were about me and Tom, and how much we traumatized her over the years, by being awful terrible parents. I confronted Jane pretty much as soon as I got done snooping, and she blew up saying I had no right to call her out on it. She was saying that it was going in the trauma bank, not her words but pretty much what she meant. I told her if she wants trauma, she very much needs a different kind of help. I don't know what got into me, but I ended up unplugging the Wi-Fi router, locked it in my bedroom and spent ages on the phone to our service provider canceling her phone contract. She's crying all day, saying it's unfair to cut her off like this. My husband thinks I've gone too far and that Jane will just weaponize this against us, making our lives more miserable. Am I the idiot? Everyone's the idiot here. The problem is not the internet like you stated. You're delusional to think that unrestricted internet access created this problem. You've raised an entitled brat that you allowed to behave like a brat growing up. Stop blaming the internet for your lack of a backbone in your parenting. Seriously, if she was claiming trauma about these things, why wasn't she put in therapy years ago to process and understand what trauma actually is? At this point, though, your daughter is an adult. Treat her as such and tell her to get her own place. You guys are so worried about her weaponizing crap against you that it's actually pathetic. Not the idiot. Kids either work or go to school in my house, no matter the age. Kids in my household definitely aren't gonna spend all day talking crap about me online with phone/internet services I pay for either. I'm all for freedom of speech and her being able to say whatever she wants whether it's right or wrong, but freedom of speech has never equaled freedom of consequences. If she wants to talk crap, she can do it on her own phone she pays for or with the internet she pays for. Sounds like y'all need therapy, that's definite for your daughter. Everyone's the idiot here. I can understand why you'd be so upset after seeing her TikTok, but it does seem like things could have been handled a lot better. Sounds like Jane could use some therapy, and if she continues to live with you and your husband, family therapy would likely be helpful. She's 19 and you mentioned she isn't in college and is unemployed. How does she afford things? Are you and your husband giving her an allowance? Seems like she would benefit from having some responsibility, boundaries, and rules. I, 30, am married to my wife Ellie, 29, and we are expecting our first child later this month. BG, Ellie and her brother Leo and late brother Josh were raised by my MIL. MIL was a former foster child who never found a forever family in the system and was never able to track down any biological family, though she does believe she'd have half-siblings somewhere. When Ellie and her brother's dad then decided to quit his job and leave her on her own to raise the kids, she struggled. Then she lost Josh, the oldest, when he was 16 years old. It tore them apart and was yet another big hit for my MIL, who did everything she could for her kids. Ellie has talked about how her mom suffered terribly with her mental health under the strain of everything and how she's grateful that she was able to recover enough to be present in their lives today. Today MIL is starting to financially be in a better, more stable place, but she's far from rich. She's also not dropping everything to help her kids all the time. Ellie and Leo have told me before that their mom had to give away so much of herself when they were growing up, had to spread herself so thin, that they don't think she could do it anymore, because she had no support and only had her kids, who she didn't want to burden. So even though we live close to Mill and Leo, she's not offering to be our childcare, not that we expect her to, but I will get to why I say that, and she didn't pay for our wedding or throw us a big massive baby shower. She's a wonderful person and Ellie will always say she is the best mom and would never ever want to lose her. My parents were visiting this weekend and we had the argument. Back when we were engaged they had commented that our wedding was not as big as they would have expected and that my MIL had not paid for anything. I told them it was our wedding, not MIL's, so she had no reason to pay for it. I told them not to bring it up again. They knew the history then. But it was bothering them that we chose to live close to her when she gives nothing and does nothing a mother and expectant grandmother should do. They then started talking about how it must kill my wife that her own mother doesn't care, is a crappy mother, and how they know she likely hoped MIL would offer to watch our child while we both work, and throw her a big baby shower and offer to be on hand to help with every little thing. I told them they had no right to speak about what my wife wanted, and how dare they judge MIL so harshly when they know what she has been through. I told them I did not want them upsetting my family, wife, BIL and MIL, with those opinions, and I made them leave. They told me I was punishing them for having sympathy for my wife and for wanting better for her than her own mother does. They said I should have let my wife decide if they spoke out of turn. But she was upset. She simply knows I am happy to step in and deal. But was my reaction too harsh? Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You would never just stand by and let a stranger attack your wife and her family verbally. Why would you think it's wrong to defend her from people you know? But even more so, since they are your parents, your wife would have held her tongue out of respect for you, not them. So it was truly your responsibility to set the boundary and show your wife and parents that these insults and invasion of privacy would not be tolerated. Good for you. You sent your parents from the room, and I'm sure they've learned to be more respectful. What your wife's mother is and isn't able to do is none of your parents' business. Your wife obviously appreciates her mother sacrificed for her as a child and doesn't feel it appropriate to ask her for more now, which I admire. It shows she loves and understands her mother. Your parents need to back off and accept that you do know your wife, her mother and her brother well enough to have their backs. And if they really need to know what a grandparent's role is, as a grandparent myself, I can tell them their role is whatever the parents of their grandchildren decide it is. You parents were attacking your MIL and were aggressive and undermining. Now they are trying to present it as care. Well, they are the idiots, and to be honest, the method itself really reminds me of my own parents, because they too tend to be manipulative, judgmental of others, and try to build their own value on criticizing other people. It is indeed toxic and hurtful. Please continue defending your wife. My advice, be strict and let them know you will never tolerate such things, and hold your ground.